Okay, Laura, you can go ahead and start the meeting. And if you just want to let everyone know as well that Amber is joining via audio only so that people are aware that she is here in Port Forum.
Okay. Melanie, do you have anything to say to begin the meeting, or do you want me to just go ahead?
Nope, you can go ahead and just start with the roadmap there.
I don't have the roadmap in front of me.
Okay, I'll send it to you again in an email. Just give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Lori, while we're waiting, what's the roadmap? Are you talking about the agenda?
No, the roadmap is something that has been developed by people at City Hall in terms of safety, and it's quite all encompassing. And once we get into it, you'll be able to understand better what it involves.
Lori, if you want to just check your email there, it should be just right at the top of your email inbox.
I'm just trying to figure out where the heck my email is. Ooh. Can't seem to find it. Melanie,
you don't have your email? Sorry, I'm confused.
So
I'm on the screen with everybody's face, but if I get out of that, I won't see anybody else. I'll have to go straight to my email.
So what I might just suggest in this moment, Chair Pock, if you're agreeable to it, the roadmap, just to Councillor Miller's comment, is essentially a script that we provide to the chairs to help flow the meeting. It is critical to how we operate at this point. So without it, we want to make sure the meeting is smooth. So perhaps either myself or Melanie can take over some of the script reading to help the process along for this meeting, and then we can that way we can move forward. We've got quorum, and I just don't want to keep delaying the meeting to begin, so that just in case that we end up having a member needing to leave, because we'll lose quorum. So if you're agreeable to that, Chair Pock, then we can
definitely.
Okay, certainly, thanks.
Okay, I will go ahead and I will read the beginning of the roadmap on behalf of the chair. So attendance has been noted by the committee clerk, which is me. My name is Melanie. I would just like to remind the committee of our viewing public of a few procedural rules for our virtual meetings and operating as efficiently as possible. All members will be muted for the meeting to reduce feedback. All web cameras for committee members shall be turned on to ensure and track quorum. We do have one member that is joining us via audio, so we do have 6 members here for the viewing public's knowledge. Staff will be requested to join the video meeting should the need to answer questions of members arise. Any member of the committee should indicate they wish to speak by physically raising their hand. All members participating via online video conference will vote using a show of hands, and the committee clerk will announce the voting results. In the event a connection or service interruption occurs that affects quorum of the committee, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting will be adjourned. I do believe at this point, Lori, you did want to provide a few comments to the committee.
Yes. Thank you, Melanie. I just like to welcome everybody to the meeting. I recognize in these terrible times of COVID that we have been without a meeting for virtually a year and a little bit, and it has definitely complicated the work of the committee. Now that we're using the Zoom system to do these meetings, it's going to be slightly different than what we're used to. Definitely going to be a little bit challenging for the first few meetings. No lunch. And I hope that as time goes by, we'll all become more and more comfortable with the system, and hopefully we'll get a lot accomplished. The the agenda today is minimalist, although there is one item that I suspect will take up the bulk of the time, and that is to do with communications. And with that, I will pass it back to you, Melanie, and thank you to everyone.
Perfect. I will turn on my camera so that you can all see me as well. So we're just moving along through the agenda. The next item would be declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any members who'd like to declare a conflict of pecuniary interest? Councillor Miller, you have your hand raised.
I do have my hand raised. It's not regarding pecuniary interest. I was trying to ask about the agenda, and I was hoping to ask a question today based on something we received, the committee received by email a couple months ago, and I'm not sure where in the agenda one could do that because I don't see a section for questions. So my question is, where can I ask a question?
So
the agenda.
The city doesn't have, for all of our agendas, we don't necessarily have a question. I know that some of our standing committees, I believe their social services does have that, as well as finance committee. We don't have a space for that on our agendas. Again, we are kind of meeting on an urgent items only basis, which is what has been presented to you here today. Is it something that's in relation to one of the items on the agenda through the chair?
No, it's not, and if it was, I would have asked the question under that. So again, it refers to a report we received a couple months ago from Hillary Miles at the Brantford Police Services.
Sorry, that was in regards to the traffic, the report that it'd been distributed with email, correct?
Yeah, statistics. So maybe at the end, okay, if that's okay with the chair.
We actually do, through the chair, we actually do have an item for statistics.
Okay.
So you could raise that under that topic through the chair if that's.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, so again, on behalf of the chair, moving, since there's no declarations of conflict of interest, presentations or delegations, there are none for today, so we'll move right into items for consideration. Our first item for consideration is the committee budget update, and it's 4.1.1 communications campaign proposal, which I believe we have staff here from our communications department if they'd like to come forward and provide a brief overview of the item that was included in the agenda pack.
Certainly, through the chair, I'm Maria Basaki. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the city. And thank you very much for the opportunity to provide an overview to the committee with respect to our recommendation regarding the remaining funds for the committee. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review the plan that was provided as part of the agenda package, but I'm also happy to provide a brief overview now and take any questions that any members of the committee may have. So the committee will remember that I believe it was a year and a half ago, it was the last meeting that we had in person prior to the COVID pandemic that changed everything for everybody. We actually did implement and execute with the committee's approval a social media campaign 2 summers ago. And the campaign ran over every single long weekend in the summer. So we started with the Victoria Day long weekend, and then we reiterated the messaging over every long weekend that summer through to Labor Day. We did not run the campaign last year. Last year, we were still in the grips of the pandemic, which unfortunately we are again experiencing the 3rd wave now. But because the committee hadn't met and we didn't have direction to do so, we did not run the campaign in summer of 2020. We are suggesting that we run it again in summer 2021. And we could start as early, with the committee's approval, we could start as early with the upcoming May 24th long weekend next weekend. In addition to the social media that runs across the city's several social media platforms, we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. We have a number of platforms where we could ensure that this messaging is featured. What is being suggested this time around, which is different from the first time, is that we're suggesting that we actually boost the campaign on social media. What that means is that we pay for advertising through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that actually extends the city's reach beyond our current following. So, for example, we have a following of nearly 20,000 people on the City of Brantford Facebook account, and 10,000 people on our Twitter account, and just over 7,000 on our Instagram account. If we actually put money behind a social media campaign, then we could extend reach beyond the people that follow us. So that is a way to get messaging out to a broader community of people who are on social media that don't necessarily follow the city's platforms. So that's something that we recommend, so that we can also reach people in different demographics. The city's Facebook account tends to trend similarly demographically to Facebook in general, which is, it is a slightly more mature audience. And that's what we find in terms of kind of any interaction with civic information tends to be 40 plus in terms of the demographic profile. So Instagram is one of those mediums where we can reach a younger audience that engages in that platform more than they do Facebook. So we are suggesting that we boost the social media campaign with some of the monies that are available in the committee's budget. In addition,
sorry, Maria, to interrupt your flow, but without Kim on screen, we've just lost quorum. So members, it is very important to remain on screen and stay connected, but we can't see you, Kim. So in fairness, we are really balancing on that edge of quorum. And so this is part of our process to remain. So we're watching to make sure that Amber is still in the meeting. If we lose quorum, the meeting does have to adjourn. So that's also, staff are really trying to watch. So any help from the members to be able to keep that quorum visible is really helpful to us. Thank you.
I apologize. I'm just making my lunch. I'm listening. I'm right here. So.
Okay. So just a quick review of our objectives is that we want to make people aware of the serious risks of driving while impaired. Impaired meaning if you are distracted by your phone or any other mediums that are within your vehicle at the time, if you are drinking and driving, or if you have engaged in using cannabis products that have altered your ability to drive and to be focused on driving. And we also want to encourage people to be responsible for their safety and others' safety by making plans and safe choices to arrive alive before they get behind the wheel in a state that would impair their judgment. In addition to the social media that I explained earlier, we also want to recommend that in order to get the most impact for any kind of a campaign, we always suggest, especially if we have some budget dollars available, that we run more than one medium, because for two reasons. Not everybody is on social media. That's one reason. The other reason is that if someone sees a communication in more than one medium, then they are more apt to remember that communication. So if they see it in their Facebook feed, and then they also see it driving to work on an outdoor billboard, they subconsciously make the connection and retain the message. We have a better chance of them retaining the message and then acting on it. So what we want to suggest is that we do a combination of integrated media campaign that includes print, digital media. Digital media is, if you're looking for something, say you're looking for something on Google and you put in something to do with driving. Because of your search mechanism, we can buy media that is tagged to what you're searching for on Google. So that's a very effective way to target communications and to target specific demographics that are interested in certain topics. So we are suggesting that we do that in combination with print, and we would negotiate that digital with Postmedia, who also has the expositor. So we would do those in tandem. We have a couple of really effective outdoor digital boards in Brantford that are in very high traffic locations. One of them is on Brant Ave, and the other one is on West Street. The city has used those very successfully in the past. The other reason why we're suggesting this particular medium is because we have a very good relationship with the media vendor. It's a company called Media City, and we often get something we call added value, which is bonus media if the message is of a public service nature, which this one is. So we go into that negotiation with the vendor and we say, we have this amount of money to spend, but because this message is really important in terms of safety for our community, what can you give us in added value? And for example, when we first did our COVID messaging, and we needed to direct people to the city's website to find out the most recent information, they ran a 3-week campaign for us at no cost. So I'm very confident that we could get some added value for this important message as well. So our target audience is drivers in the community at large. And then we've also identified a secondary audience of young adult drivers. And we wanted to highlight that because we need to make sure that we go to where young people are. And that's where the digital media becomes more important when we're trying to reach that audience. So with the budget available, we can do 2 front page top banner print ads, and we've scheduled them to coincide with the Thursday all community paper prior to the long weekends in July and August. And at the same time, the digital ads would be running in tandem, and the digital billboard campaign would also be running. And so again, the idea is that the media runs all at once, because that's how you can deliver the most impact. All of the creative for any of the executions would be done in-house by the city's communications and community engagement staff. We do have resources that would be able to create the campaign and to do the media buying and the implementation of the media. We also have a series of screens in all of the city's affordable housing units, as well as several city facilities. So we would run the same creative that is running on our digital outdoor board on that free network. And again, that's just another way to extend the reach. So I mentioned, talked about the social media campaign already. In addition to the platforms of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube is another medium that we suggest using to run any of our digital ads through, because that too is a way to reach a younger audience. Definitely, we have used YouTube very effectively to communicate to a younger audience. We've had some success with it in promoting our Canada Day activities in the past. And I know it was successful because my 15-year-old son kept telling me he kept seeing Canada Day ads from the city every time he tried to listen to his favorite blogger on YouTube. And I said, great, it's working. So YouTube is very effective for reaching that younger audience. So here's how the budget lays out. We're suggesting that we spend $2,000 on print and online advertising. We're suggest allocating $1,000 towards social media. A 4-week campaign on the digital boards that I mentioned would be $2,400. And again, I think that we could likely extend that campaign even further than 4 weeks, given the PSA value of the messaging. And then all of the in-house website content and media releases in advance of each long weekend, just reiterating the safety messaging, that would all be done in-house by comm staff. So after the media plan within the document that was provided as part of the agenda package was the messaging that was approved for the social media campaign that ran in 2019. I think all of it is still very relevant, very valid. Although if there is any feedback that the committee has in terms of updating that messaging, of course, we would be happy to take that direction. So that's my brief overview. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question. In terms of the advertising through the expositor, print and digital, what value do you place on the print advertising as opposed to online?
Through you, I think that's a very good question. We use print, and you'll see like print is not the dominant medium that we're recommending, but recognizing that not everyone has a computer, not everyone has a smartphone, not everyone drives. Print is, especially the print that is free issue that goes to all communities. If it's on the front page of that all community Thursday paper, we have a very good chance of most households in the community seeing it. And so that paper will go to 36,000 households in both the city and the county of Brant. And for that reason alone, it's worth the investment. And it, again, it's another way, it's another hit to our frequency to get the message out more than once. And so the rule of thumb in advertising is that someone needs to see the message 3 times, and then they'll remember it. So the more mediums you use, the more integrated the campaign is, meaning they all run at the same time, the better chance you have of achieving that 3-time goal.
Lori, you do also have a few hands raised from members, if you just wanted me to, to read them off. So you've got Councillor Vanderstelt first.
Jan.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Maria. I agree with you. Based on my professional experience, there is no better penetration, market penetration right now than dollars spent on online advertising. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it's working very, very well for us in the private sector. I understand that we need to keep focusing on the traditional print model as well, but I agree with you 100% on market penetration. And I'm just wondering whether or not there may be some you're looking for 3 repeats of the same message, Maria. Maybe there's something we can do with police services as well, so they can repeat some of our material. I'll listen in to find out where that could go. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I can respond to that. Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, all of the messaging that was developed for the social media campaign, we tagged the Brantford Police account, and we also tagged the OPP with their permission, and often they would retweet that across their channels as well. And I would be happy to reach out to their communications staff to make sure that that they're also initiating and using the plan that we have in place at the same time.
Okay. Jan?
So Lori, it looks like you've got Councillor Miller next.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Maria, two questions. First one's kind of along the same lines as Jan's, where you're trying to get that message out through different organizations. So the first organization I have in mind, is any other body that you're aware of running the same message? Like, and I'm thinking of the LCBO. Do they run the same message at the same time?
Through the chair, I would need to reach out to them specifically to see what their plans are for 2021. But I have seen their, Drink Responsibly campaign. You do see it every summer. I don't know how much they invest in it to the level of it being, wide scale. But they do put it in all of their literature. When you go to the LCBO and they have that book that they give away free in the summertime, that they usually have it in there. I would need to reach out to them, which I would be happy to do, to see if they would see if we could lobby them to actually share, like, retweet, repost some of the messaging that would be consistent with what their safety, drink responsibly messaging is. In terms of other agencies outside of OPP and police, I'm not aware of any other organizations that do this through the summer, but I'm sure other municipalities do. So we could do a little bit more research on that if that's something the committee is interested in learning more about.
Okay. Yeah, I just, because I have seen LCBO, putting out that message, and wouldn't it be nice if they could kind of join us? My last question, or my second question, last question, through you, Lori, to Maria. Are you the stuff you're putting on the city social media, are you also putting that on the county social media?
Through the chair, that's a very good question. We would absolutely share the social media plan like we did in 2019 with our counterparts at the county. We have a very good working relationship with your communication staff. So I would absolutely share this with Melissa, Connor, as well as Susie and Sarah and the whole gang there, and similar to the way that the City Social Services Committee works, because it has members of both councils on it. Whenever we do a communication that is coming as an action item from a decision of that committee, we always share it with Melissa in advance, so that she's aware and so that she can amplify that messaging across your channels as well.
Okay, I will let Melissa know that you're going to be reaching out to her on this. Appreciate it.
Sure.
And just so you know, Maria, and then the rest of the community, I mean, we've actually put a lot of money and beefed up our media department. It's almost its own department now, but yeah, they've been doing a lot of work on it. So I think they'll be very effective as well. But I'll let Melissa know you'll be reaching out to her. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Through the chair, we have definitely noticed that. They're doing a great job.
So Lori, next for questions of staff is Penny.
Go ahead, Penny.
Maybe I missed it, but is this going to be only directed towards alcohol, or is it going to include like marijuana use as well?
Through the chair, it includes all uses of substances or anything that could also cause distraction while driving. So there was one graphic in the campaign where someone was driving and looking at their phone, and that messaging was specific to driving distracted. Then we had a separate one about driving if you've used cannabis, and then another one to do with drunk driving. So yes, all three of them are covered.
Would it be in terms of like we talked about the LCBO and reaching out to the LCBO, and I know Kim's here, but what about to the I don't know, the stores that are now selling marijuana in the community, reaching out to them about messaging?
Through the chair, I'm not sure we would have any influence over them, but I could work with our clerk's department, who would be able to provide at least a list of who is licensed to do that in Brantford, and we could write them letters, let them know that this campaign is happening and that we would appreciate them sharing the messaging.
I would think that would be a good idea too.
Yep.
Okay, Councillor Vanderstelt, you have Lori, you have Councillor Vanderstelt next for questions of staff.
Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you, Chair and Chair. Much appreciated. Penny, I agree with you 100%. Now, if there's a role that I can play with the clerk's department to further drive home that message to the the proliferation of pot shops in town, I'd be more than willing to do that. I think the messaging comes across a little cleaner and a little more forceful when there's someone standing 6 feet away from their front door of their business and saying, have you seen this? Are you paying attention to this? Do you know what's going on? Do you care about your community? Do you care about your customers? That kind of a messaging I could follow through on if the committee thinks that is appropriate, or if the clerk's department thinks that's something I should play a role in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jan.
Okay, Lori, next for questions of staff, you have Penny.
Go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the messaging could be added to like the hydro bill or the water bill right around the same time as another thing that, you talk about repetitive messaging. That's a good place that everybody tends to look.
Through the chair, that's a very good suggestion, Penny. We could do that, except that we don't have enough funding to do that. So while there certainly isn't any cost associated with developing the inserts, because it would be the same as the other creative, and there's no cost to actually include it with any of the utility billing. The city doesn't charge for that at all. We would have to pay the printing costs, and because there's so many of them, the printing cost would be over $1,500 if we did a bill insert. So it'd be $1,500 each time we did a bill insert. So if we did choose that over one of the other mediums that has been suggested, we would have to take something away from the current recommendation. But I do agree, it can be a very effective way of getting important messaging out. We have found though, with some stuff, if you use the bill insert too much, you do run the risk of someone's just going to toss it, right, and consider that it's just junk mail. So that's why we don't always put it forward. We certainly do put it forward when we have really robust budgets to work with, because it just helps add to the overall campaign.
Okay, Lori, I don't see any more hands raised for questions of staff, so we would just need a mover and a seconder to put the item on the floor so that the committee, it can be open for discussion amongst members.
Okay. Someone to move the motion. Penny, seconded by Kim? All in favor?
So, okay, so Lori, sorry, you didn't want to have any more discussion. You're just you're passing the item as is?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to move on to item 4.1.2, which is the operating budget update. So in your package, you will see that we did include an operating budget, which it's your regular operating budget. I'll pull it up for you here now so you can all kind of have a look at it. Essentially, it's much unchanged from previous years. Normally, this includes the stipend for meals, and also does a lot for fees in conjunction with conferences, particularly the Arrive Alive conference, which I know this committee has sent members to in previous years. We have been keeping tabs on Arrive Alive, and just to see what they're planning for their next conference. They don't have any plans up for their next conference yet, which I imagine, like many other events similar to that conference, people are kind of holding off and trying to figure out if it's going to be a virtual event or in person. So we don't have any information regarding that conference, but we are keeping tabs on it. And in the event that there is an in-person conference, we would have the funding to send someone to that conference. So this is more of just an update. There is a motion to receive this update on the agenda as well. So it's more of just a housekeeping item for you all. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just one thing, Melanie. I don't expect another province-wide conference until 2022. So you probably will not receive anything from Arrive Alive until perhaps the spring of 22.
For sure, yeah. We like I said, we will definitely keep tabs on it and keep this committee aware of what's going on with that group and any events, virtual or otherwise, that they will be having.
Good, thank you. Any other questions?
Lori Penny's got her hand raised.
Okay, Penny, go ahead.
I'm just wondering about the Safe Street Save Lives Award. I know that we probably don't know if anybody's going to be meeting in person or whether we can do that, but is there still money in the budget to do that if that becomes a possibility?
So we do have funding here for meals as well as gifts, awards, and donations. Your FP2 account, which was just kind of discussed which is your account that has the money in it from the courts, that's been around for quite some time. That's what's going to be used for your advertising campaign that we just approved. So you do have money in here to run this year, and we will be getting to that item on the agenda, so we'll speak more fulsomely to that. But that we do have money here, and that will also be taken care of if there is an in-person event by the county, which again, when we get to that item, we can discuss a little bit further. If there are no other questions, Laura, you would just need a mover and a seconder to place the item on the floor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Jan. All in favor? Carried.
Oh, Amber's just put up her hand. Amber, was that to vote or was that to speak?
Oh, I should have asked.
Oh, no, sorry, that was just to vote.
Okay, perfect. So you're voting in favor?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Thanks, Amber. Okay, so we're going to, through the chair, move along to your next item, which is the Safe Street Save Lives Award update, which again is just going to be an update from staff. There's no motion associated with this. So basically, we did reach out to the county. So the previous two events were, the one in 2017 was held at Six Nations, and then the one after that was held at the city of Brantford, which is the last in-person event that was run. So if it was supposed to be the county of Brant, unfortunately, we did find ourselves in a global pandemic, and that did not happen. So had we followed, just to explain, because I know that there was perhaps a couple of questions, if we had followed if they did actually get to have that event at the county, the event this year would have been held at Six Nations. But because the county has not had an opportunity to do it, we don't want to take that away from them. So they would be next up to hold that event. And then once they do get their opportunity, it would then go back to the Six Nations. We did reach out to the county and to the county clerk to kind of check in on what their status is right now for awards and recognitions of achievement. Currently at the city of Brantford, we have not had any awards or recognitions of achievement for essentially the past year. We have been on an urgent items and imperative items only basis, and we haven't ran, we have awards for different committees which also haven't run. We do a wall of recognition for past members of council, which unfortunately also we have not been able to have the ceremony for. So the Safe Street Save Lives Awards have kind of also followed that, and we did check in with the county, and the county says currently they're also not doing award ceremonies. This is what we were told by the county clerk, but they are keeping tabs on opening the province's opening plan and in-person meetings versus virtual meetings, which does impact the ability to have these kinds of awards. So at this time, they said they're not in a position to host awards, but they are monitoring the situation and would perhaps have a better update to provide for us in the fall, whether that is an in-person event or some kind of a virtual event. So we are keeping tabs on that as well. And we will have more of an update to provide to you, hopefully in a few months in the fall, when the county has a better idea as well of what their operations look like. So I'm not sure if anyone has any other questions for that. Okay. Councillor Miller does have a question.
Oh, yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to be clear then, so we'll keep what the schedule was. It's just been delayed. Is that correct? When things open up?
Exactly.
If I'm hearing you correctly. Okay.
Yeah, through the chair. Sense, yeah. We don't want to deny one of the participating municipalities an opportunity to host those awards. So that's why we haven't skipped over. We don't want to skip over the county, basically. So that it would be the county that would be next.
And that makes sense.
An administrative decision. Pardon?
Yeah, and that makes sense, because I mean, if it's province wide, right? These shutdowns. So if we can't have it in one community, obviously we can't have it in the other. So
exactly.
I think that's a great idea. So, okay,
exactly. Yeah. And we have a really good relationship with the county clerk, Heather. So we're definitely keeping in contact with her to and not just for purposes of the Safe Street Save Lives, for other clerking and administrative things. We're always in touch with Heather. So we'll definitely keep this committee informed as to what will be happening with that event once we have more information. Yeah, Lori. Yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Sure.
Or more of a comment, really. Safe, as Benny will know, Safe Streets Save Lives is a bit of a show. In past years, we've, with the odd exception, we've had a piper. Everybody comes, at least in terms of the official party, it comes in their Sunday best outfits, and just as a comment, I think it would be something that would be perhaps a little more user-friendly if it was done live as opposed to virtually, but we may not have that luxury.
Yeah, so through the chair, again, that would be at the discretion of the committee. If you know, in the fall, the county does say we can offer a virtual ceremony, and that's not to the satisfaction of the committee, you could definitely delay that further until you could have an in-person event, which again is what not only because of COVID have some of these recognitions at the city been delayed, it's also because we can't do a proper recognition for these events. So that would be at the discretion of the committee as well. We would tell you, what is available to you, and you guys could decide if that's something suitable for your purposes.
Okay.
Oh, I think Penny has her hand up as well.
Okay. Penny?
I'm just wondering, because we didn't do it last year, and we may or may not do it this year, if we shouldn't still be in contact with the 3 police services and getting their nominations for both last year and this year, so that we have those. And if something is available, then we can move forward pretty quickly. And if not, then when it does become time, then we should do it retroactively for all of those years that we might have missed.
So, okay, yeah. So through the chair, Penny, were you looking to move a motion to direct staff to gather those statistics from the police forces, or those names rather?
I don't think we've ever done it as a motion. We've just sent the requests out to the 3 police services. I don't remember it being a formal motion before.
Again, through the chair, just because we are doing this for just so that staff have clear direction. We could move a motion if that's something, again, through the chair, that committee.
Well, I'm happy to make the motion that we get the nominations for the 2020 and the 2021 Safe Streets, Safe Lives awards from the 3 area police services in preparation.
Okay, Lori, you would just need to ask for a seconder. You have.
Oh, yeah. And anyone seconding that motion?
You've got Amber and Councilor Vanderstelt. Amber?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Perfect.
Okay. All in favor?
Amber, how would you like to vote? In favor or against?
Yes, in favor, please.
In favor, okay. And then those opposed? Sorry, Lori.
Okay.
So that's carried for you, Lori. Okay, so now moving on to our final item, which is item 4.3, request for quarterly impaired driving statistics. So I can speak to this through the chair. We've included a motion here as, again, we have reached out to both the Six Nations Police Service as well as the Brant County OPP detachment to ask them, as I know that their membership on this committee, there's been a bit of a gap. We have not received any names or people to put forward as representatives to our appointments committee, so we are still working on that. We do, however, want to include, because I know that this committee not so much enjoys, but is rather interested in seeing the impaired and distracted driving statistics from these police forces. So we did want to include a motion that, despite the fact that 2 of the police forces do not currently have representation on the committee, that those statistics can still be requested to be provided to the committee. So we've included a motion here that those police services be requested to provide quarterly statistics of impaired or distracted driving incidences to be provided to the committee for their information. So these would be distributed, even if we don't have a meeting, they'll be distributed over email just for your information so that you can have those. So I don't know if there's any questions of any members of the committee through the chair. Oh, Lori, you have Councillor Vanderstelt's hand raised.
Yes, Jan.
Sorry, Lori. Oh, okay, so David has just put his hand up. I believe this is where Councillor Dave Miller wanted to ask that question he had earlier in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller?
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Larry. Actually, a few things. As far as Brant County OPP a liaison on the committee, I will let me dig into that. We've had some personnel changes there. It's really hard to during COVID because a lot of times you could just stop in and talk to somebody, and you can't do that anymore. So, but I'm going to reach out to them. Second of all, as far as the statistics go, I think it's a great motion. You don't know where you are until you measure it, and I think that's one good piece of information I think we all need. My question is, and again, it goes back to what Hillary Miles, and I think she's with the police services, the Brantford Police Services. She sent out that report, and I don't know who requested it. That's one of my questions. And it was just something to do with did the pandemic, did we see an increase, I guess, or a decrease in impaired and distracted driving associated with the pandemic? But my main question there is, and maybe, I don't know if Amber, maybe you know, or this information has to be out there, and what I'd like to know is, for every person that is charged and convicted of, say, impaired driving, how many more are out there that we don't even know about? That's something I'm really curious as to find to know, and if there's anything we as a committee can do about that. But that's my, I guess, my big question is, for everyone we know that we found, how many are out there that we haven't found? Does anyone know the answer to that?
I don't. I do know that I just finished the quarterly report for the first quarter of this year, and one of the trends was an increase in our calls for service in regards to impaired driving. So I know for the first 3 months, I believe we had over 30 charges laid, or for 30 individuals. But I wouldn't know how to track. I could check with Hillary how we could track the ones that didn't make it into that statistic that weren't apprehended.
Yeah, no, yeah, and well, you don't know what you don't know, but I'm just wondering if there's some studies done out there that says, for everyone that has been found, located or charged, there's 10 or 20 or 30, that have driven home from the bar or wherever impaired, and nobody knows about it except that person. That's kind of what I was looking to find out. I'm sure that information's out there, and that's why I thought I'd ask at this committee, because I don't know if maybe that's been discussed at this committee in the past.
Laura, you've got Councillor Vanderstel's hand raised.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks, Laurie. Partially in response to that question, I have repeatedly requested over the last little while that we're supplied with all of those statistics as well, not just from Brantford Police Services, but also from OPP. Unfortunately, their situation has changed as a result of COVID as well. And changed as well due to the nature and the frequency of some of the incidents that are happening in Brant County. They've both organizations have had an all hands on deck approach to managing what is, demonstrably pretty much a crisis out there. So I know we're not necessarily getting the data that we're hoping to get, and we're not able to bring any bearing on a change in legislation because we don't have the data. But be rest assured that both organizations are working as hard as they can during this time to make sure that we're we're in a safe community. And with your leave, Mr. Chair, there's a few other things I'd like to add in. I know this is the last item, but I have to pop out soon, very soon. I just wanted to thank members. This transition from meeting at City Hall to online services, it's a really difficult transition for a lot of people to make. It is completely different feel, it's a different look, it's a different experience. And I want to thank our clerks department for putting this one together. But the world certainly has changed, okay? Because for the first time in history of this committee, we're now broadcasting live on YouTube, and we have 8 people watching. Now, in the history of this committee, outside of our celebrations for acts of bravery, let's put it that way, in Safe Streets Saves Lives, we didn't have anybody paying much attention to this committee outside of the committee members themselves. So, as we go forward, it's much easier to meet in this context, especially when our staff have the time to be able to do it, okay? It's much easier to meet in this context, and I think it's much easier to get quorum As a matter of fact, the differences between what I've seen anyway, what I've witnessed in meeting attendance was it's much higher now than it was before, because people can quickly get from one meeting to the next. So I'm happy to see that. Now, the other part of it is, the other bit, just before I leave at 1, sorry, I got to make it fast. It is so important that we make sure that we celebrate the good work that is being done by so many officers that risk their lives on a daily basis. I really don't care what methodology we use. I want to make sure that we celebrate those amazing people, not only day by day. They give up their time, their energies, their strengths, their everything, but they go above and beyond, and they save lives in situations that you and I can't imagine and have never experienced. And I think it is so important that we move that agenda along faster and make sure that we tell our stories about these amazing people that are in our community. Just because a pandemic got in the way doesn't mean we shouldn't say thank you, and thank you loud and thank you strong. So with that, I have to head out, but thank you so much for meeting today. I'm looking forward to our next meeting.
So just before Councillor Vanderstel, just before you leave, as soon as you leave, we lose quorum. So if we could get this item quickly moved, second pass, then we'll be able to act on the stats request.
Thank you. Thank you.
So sorry, Chair Pock, to interrupt. I'm respectful of Councillor Vanderstel. So if we could get the last 2 items, which is this one, and then the consent for the minutes, we can adjourn.
Sure.
I'll move it.
Thank you. Second. I saw Penny's hand first. Chair Pock, are you okay with that? So moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Penny McVicker for this item. Would you like me to continue, Chair Pock?
Amber, how would you like to vote?
Yeah, I'm for that as well.
Perfect. Those opposed? Okay, that's carried. We will move quickly to item 5.1 through the chair, that the minutes of the February 6th meeting be approved. Are there any, so mover, Councillor Vanderstel? If that's all right with you, Chair Pock? Perfect. Sure. And then seconder is Penny? Perfect. Okay. And then if you want to call the vote, Lori?
Certainly. All in favor?
Amber, how would you like to vote?
Yeah, I'll vote for.
Perfect. Those opposed? Okay, Lori, that's carried. So you can go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Okay, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to this meeting. I know it's been a bit of a different sort of a meeting, and hopefully things will proceed very well in future meetings. And with that, I will leave the call for the next meeting to Melanie, and it will be her call as to when we are next able to meet.